I use my lighters like this with my finger instead of my thumb because one winter it got so cold and my hands got so cold that my thumbs wouldn't bend anymore. It wouldn't bend like this, and so it was a struggle. So I switched to my finger, and since then I have always used my finger to light a lighter instead of my thumb. So let's talk about the holidays. Being homeless around the holidays really sucks on like another level. Cause like, a lot of us don't have the money and the transportation to get around. So there's no chance that some of us are gonna be going to see our families or anything like that. We're just pretty much stuck out in the wilderness. A lot of homeless people don't even know where their families are, or their families don't know where they are. The shelters might have a nice meal, might have a little bit of an event or something, but they're shelters. They don't have the funds to do anything really special. See, the thing is, being homeless, I have a particular rhythm to my life that can easily be disrupted by common society. Like, I hate the weekends, for example, because, most people love the weekends because that's when they get off work. And that's exactly why I hate the weekends, because that's when everybody is around. Everybody's in the stores, everybody's at the park, everybody's out doing their things on the weekend because they just need their precious free time as much as they can get it and grasp it. They got to use it as much as they can because they have jobs and they don't have as much free time as I do. So I can't even be mad when people come on the weekend and they all, leave their jobs and en masse just hit the stores and all this. And it can be really disruptive for me because I have no choice but to be out here in public. So, for example, if like a public toilet is really, really busy, that's my problem. That's my problem. That can be a really big problem for me because I can't just go home. I can't just be like, I'm going to be in this line for 20 minutes. I might as well just go home, hop over 5 minutes, and then come back or whatever, right? I can't do that. I could go to another public restroom. So, that's how I feel about the weekends, right? It's just the time when everybody's out, and I don't get to be alone as easily. I'm pretty ambivalent in general toward most holidays, except for Halloween. I really, really like Halloween. And it's really disappointing when I don't get to do anything for Halloween to celebrate it. Like this year, I didn't really do anything. I didn't have any money. Holidays are commercialized. They are a commercial capitalist ritual, essentially. And it's very difficult to participate in holidays when you don't have any money. Typically, you have to spend some kind of money to participate in a holiday, or you have to have like a family that you can hang out with. And I don't have either of those things. So holidays are pretty much just sort of a meh. Unless I get to do something for them, then I don't really have any reason to be interested. Might as well not even think about it because it would just break my heart. So, I like hearing Christmas music on the radio. I like the vibe. I like snow when it's not personally attacking my body temperature. There's lots of things that I like about winter and like the holidays in general and like individually, right? I like the vibes of the season. I don't have a problem with that at all. It's the commercialization, though. And it's just another way that I, as a homeless person, have been exiled from society by being disallowed from participating in our national and international holidays. So yeah, there's not really much to say about holidays, being homeless. It's just sort of like, I wish there was more I could do during the holidays, but for me, it's just a time of like, everybody is off work, everybody's running around trying to buy stuff for their loved ones and nobody has any money for me. And it's cold and the weather is difficult and it's just the hardest part of the year. I mean, it's sort of like if I was legitimately living in the wilderness. Wintertime is just a time of less resources and more hardship. And I'm gonna have to like get through it, basically. It's not like, it's not just like, oh, I get seasonal affective disorder and I get kind of depressed. Like, no, it's a really hard time. I could lose my toes. I could lose my fingers. I could lose my car, my shelter to the ice, slipping and sliding around, because maybe I just need to go somewhere and I can't wait for the salt and the plows and all this. Like last winter, the roads were iced over, and a cop came by to tell me that I had to leave the parking lot that I was in. And I said, my tires are kind of bald right now, and I don't think it would be a good idea for me to drive on the ice. I'm trying to wait until morning when the plows come through and they salt the roads and I can maybe drive a little bit safer. But right now I don't think it would be safe for me to drive. And he said, well, the parking lot's closed and you can't stay here or you're gonna get a citation, so you gotta leave. And I didn't have the money for the citation, so I thought, fine, I'll risk it. I'll go drive on this slippery ice. And I crashed. I hit a guardrail. And my alignment was messed up on my front tires. And that alignment messed me up for weeks down the line. This happened earlier. This happened last winter, actually. And that alignment has fucked me up until all the way now, where recently I had to spend $1,000 to fix a whole bunch of stuff in my front axle because that alignment messed me up, and they couldn't fix my alignment because my tires were too bald. It was just this like cycle, right? And all because that cop told me to move. I was driving in such a way that if they just given me a little more time, I could have got some new tires and none of that would have ever happened. But I just didn't have, I legitimately didn't have money to spend on new tires, and I was waiting for a couple more donations to come in, and then I would get tires, and then none of that would have happened. But no, this cop decided that me being in this closed parking lot with nobody else around and no crimes to commit other than just being in a parking lot that's closed, which is apparently loitering. Apparently loitering is much more dangerous for society than me possibly slipping and sliding on ice while I'm driving a ginormous metal vehicle. Very frustrating. Very frustrating. And I just barely got my car back in somewhat good condition. And winter's coming again, so that could very easily happen again. I'll try to stay out of places that are gonna kick me out, but who knows? I really cannot plan and prepare for that in any significant capacity. I can stay out of closed parking lots. I can go to places that are open 24/7 or places I know aren't gonna kick me out and things like that. But ultimately, if the place gets a new manager and the manager's like, who's that red car out there that's been out there day after day, and everybody and their coworkers are like, oh, that's that nice homeless guy that doesn't bother anybody. And the manager's like, oh, homeless person living in our property, we gotta get him out of here. And then all of a sudden, I'm not allowed there anymore. Could happen, has happened before. And during wintertime, these kinds of things are especially bad for me. So my dad sent me $300, which is all he can spare, really. Which is fine. That's my Christmas present, and I'm gonna get a laptop with it so that I can make better videos and maybe record some gameplay and do better editing and have more storage space. And having a laptop is gonna be huge for me. And his $300 isn't gonna cover the full laptop, but I'm gonna have to dip into my savings a little bit. You get like $50 or something like that. So that's like the holiday gift that I'm getting from my family is $300 for a laptop. It's not even enough. It's not even enough for a laptop. So I try to stay on top of my mental health in this season because it's especially difficult. But ultimately what I have to accept is that I am probably always going to be depressed in wintertime. Especially if I don't have very many resources. Wintertime always sucks, and it always feels like it's gonna last forever when you're in it. But then it's only a fourth of the season, and the really, really cold parts are even less than that usually. So it's only like a couple weeks, only like 2, 3, 4 weeks, maybe up to 6, where I'm gonna be like really suffering and really struggling. But it's just the worst time of the year. And like I said, it is kind of like as if I was living in the wilderness, right? Like I have to prepare. I always find myself eating a little bit more. I don't know if it's stress or like I'm actually trying to put on weight for the winter time because I'm not going to be moving around as much during the winter, so I might go hungry every once in a while. I might end up eating less during the winter in general, but I'm gonna want some fat on me, and I'm gonna want to burn some energy, because the main way that I stay warm in the wintertime is actually just burning my fat. I always get skinnier in the wintertime because I don't want to run my car too much more than I usually do, but I gotta keep it warm. But then, I warm my car up and then I go to sleep, and then in the really, really cold, if it's like below freezing, basically the warmth in here is only gonna last a couple hours, and then it all dissipates, and then I'm in my hammock cold. And so usually what I do in the wintertime is I wake up every couple hours to put my head under the blanket and rub my hands together and rub my legs together and, wind up the furnace that is my body and get things warm in there again so that I can go back to sleep. And I gotta do that like every 2.5 hours when it's below freezing temperatures. I just gotta do that. And I need some fat on my body. I need some, calories to be able to do that, to burn the calories to keep me warm. So that's, by the way, if you give a homeless person food, I would really recommend, like, any food generally is going to be appreciated unless they have some like dietary restriction where they really can't eat that. But people are like, you have this intuition that like you want to give homeless people like healthful foods or like granola bars and healthy foods, bananas and fruits and stuff like that. And that's fine. But if winter is approaching and it's going to be cold, give them chocolate bars. Give them fatty foods. Give them beef jerky. Give them stuff with like fat. They need fat for wintertime. They literally need to fatten up. This is important for our biology, to be able to have a little bit of extra fat reserves on us during the winter. Not only does it physically keep our organs warm because it sits on top of them and insulates them, but you can burn it as a furnace to keep your own body warm. That's how your body stays warm. It burns fat. And during the wintertime, it's especially important for homeless people. So in the wintertime and before wintertime, give them fatty foods, chocolate bars, sugar, things that are gonna just bulk them up and give them some fat on their bodies. Don't worry about their appearance, because health goes much further than appearance, especially in a survival situation like this, where we're facing the outside weather all year round. And I am lucky that I have a car, like, at all, to be able to, at least keep the snow and wind off of me. But it's not ideal, but at least it's something, right? It's a metal box, and that's better than a lot of people out there have. Some people have tents and stuff like that, but you got to keep in mind that, like, while we are people with intelligent, sentient, bright minds, we are living in kind of an animalistic situation. So you have to consider, how might a human survive out in the wild, out in the elements. Maybe not necessarily the wild. They might be in a city, they might be close to civilization, but it's still, it's basically like a wilderness survival situation. And especially when it comes to facing the elements. So, wintertime, think about what would your ancestors have done to prepare for winter and help homeless people do that. Put fat on their bodies, put layered clothing on their bodies, stockpiles of food and water so that they don't have to go and walk and travel. Ideally, what I would do for like a good month during wintertime, or at least like the coldest parts where it's like below freezing, ideally I would literally just sleep. And I have done this for some parts of previous winters. I would just sleep. And just sleep, wake up to maybe eat, smoke a couple cigarettes, drink some water, use the bathroom, maybe be up for another couple hours doing some things, browsing the internet, whatever, and then warming up my car, and then go back to sleep. And that is how I would get through the wintertime. If I, had a stockpile of food and I didn't have to go anywhere, I literally just wouldn't leave my car. Maybe I'd have to use the bathroom, but, what I'm saying is that I would hibernate if I could. And, that's reasonable. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that we as a species have decided that we need to be productive during the wintertime. Like, are you kidding me? Until we can control the weather and get rid of wintertime, which, by the way, we definitely should not be doing that, but until we can, why should we be working during the wintertime? Why haven't we structured our society in such a way that we can take a break during these most difficult months of the year? It's kind of stupid, kind of ridiculous, and I think it makes perfect sense for me to just want to sleep the whole winter off. The seasonal affective disorder, depression that people get, that's normal. That's probably just very normal. That's probably just your body and brain being like, oh, wintertime, let's eat some fatty foods and sleep a lot. Yay! That's what winter is for. And I'm actually very glad that as a homeless person, I can participate in the ancient tradition of hibernation. Now, obviously, I'm not really hibernating the way like a bear would, but sleeping more, just eating fatty foods, and just sleeping a lot. That's what winter is like for me. When I can escape the cold. When I can't escape the cold, winter is hell. With a laptop, I'll probably be spending a lot of time at the library. Instead of sleeping over the winter, I'll probably instead be gaming, record a whole lot of footage, do some voiceovers, upload some content. Again, I don't really know if any of my current subscribers are interested in that, but you know what? It's what I'm doing. So I mean, if you want to see yet another Minecraft playthrough, I'm thinking of playing Vintage Story too. I really, really want to play Vintage Story. It's kind of like Minecraft, but it's got that like realistic, more like hardcore kind of crafting systems and different types of like clay and materials that you can craft with. And it's supposed to be kind of more realistic. And I've seen some playthroughs of it. It looks really good. Looks really fun and interesting. It looks kind of like it would scratch the Minecraft itch, but be a different game still, which is kind of, a lot of people are looking for that kind of thing lately. I just hope it's not like $60. I hope it's like $15 or something like that, because I do want to play it and I do want to play games, but I don't have a lot of money to be spending on games. I just hope that eventually these playthroughs are gonna like pay themselves back, If I get more than like $400 off of my playthroughs or my videos, whatever I end up making on a laptop, then that is going to be paying itself back. So yeah, it's kind of a dreary day, but there is some sun on the horizon peeking underneath the clouds. Um, it kind of looks like it's gonna rain. Oh, it is raining. Oh. Oh, it is. It is drizzling just a little bit. Okay. Well, that's nice. Oh, by the way, this is like totally random and like has nothing to do with anything I said in this video, but so I did a little deep dive on this paper that I was reading. It was a neuroscience paper. I wish I knew what it was called. I wish I remembered, but I just read it like while I was trying to go to sleep a couple nights ago. But what I read is that there's a protein called parvalbumin, which is in the albumin family. So it's kind of similar to albumin, which is the protein found in egg whites. It's a coagulant, it's parvalbumin. And parvalbumin is mostly found in fish. It is one of the molecules responsible for the fish allergy. So it's very well documented. You can very easily find out what fish has the most and the least parvalbumin. And parvalbumin is important to me because it is implicated in the dysregulation of a particular set of neurons, which could lead to significant neurological disruption. And it's implicated in certain things like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and schizophrenia and autism. And so, having autism, I'm very curious about this. I've always loved fish. I've always craved fish, and fish is like my favorite meat. It has always been my favorite meat. And so I wonder if there's a connection there. So supposedly what parvalbumin does is it's not a neurotransmitter, it's a neuromodulator. So instead of transmitting a signal between neurons, what it does is modulate the frequency of the electrical signal. And it does this in neurons called PVINs, parvalbumin interneurons. And these PVINs, they're connected to all kinds of systems in the brain. And like any kind of neuron, they have all kinds of different functions, but one of their main functions is to synchronize activity across different brain areas. So they can induce gamma brain waves, which are brain waves that are happening typically when you're using working memory, when you're focusing, when you're doing a task. It's like the executive function brain wave, as opposed to, say, delta waves, which happen when you're sleeping, and other waves that happen when you're doing other things. I think there's like 4 types of brainwave, if I remember correctly, or maybe 5. There's theta, there's gamma, there's delta, I think alpha and beta, but I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, gamma waves, very important for executive function, and down the line, they also affect the motor cortex, so they can lead to things like shaky hands, dyspraxia, and even up to things like Parkinson's tremors. So dysregulation of these PVINs, these specific neurons that are supposed to synchronize activity across the brain, it can cause this activity to be not synchronized, and then you don't get the proper gamma waves, or your gamma waves are a little slower, a little faster, a little out of sync, whatever's going on. And this can cause issues with function, with working memory, and all kinds of things. And it seems to track with my internal subjective experience. Like I said, not only do I really like fish, and fish is like my favorite meat, and it always has been, but I also just struggle with executive function. I always have. And, working memory. Like, I know I have a memory, but it's like when it's time to recall those memories in reference to a specific task, it's like I just go blank. So, I don't know. It seems to make sense if you have executive function issues, if you have dyspraxia, if you have autism, schizophrenia, if you have a family history of anything like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, look into parvalbumin. Apparently you can eat it and it will find its way to your brain. Like I said, maybe that's why I like fish so much, because my brain is like, we need some of that. There's more to learn about PVINs too, but like essentially they're inhibitory neurons, so they inhibit other neurons' signals. And they're basically, because they're inhibitory neurons, they're kind of always going. Excitatory neurons aren't necessarily always going like inhibitory neurons are, but inhibitory neurons tend to be like always activated, always doing something. And they're very, very sensitive, very, very chemically sensitive, and very physically sensitive. And so being strained over and over and over again without the proper neuromodulation from, correct amounts of parvalbumin, it can cause stress and damage in these neurons over time, and they can just die. They're the neurons in our brains that we know of that are like the most susceptible to stress damage. Probably not the most, but they're very, very susceptible to damage. Which is scary, because they're so important. They're so important. So yeah, I don't know if anyone has noticed yet, but I do have a special interest in like the brain and neuroscience and neurology, and understanding as much as a layman really can, because there is no way I'm going to college at any point in my life. But I just want to understand like the brain, right? Like know what's going on, especially with my own brain, which is why this is interesting to me, because I think it's probably relevant to me. And I'm going to be eating more fish. I just want to eat more fish. I've heard binaural beats and binaural stimulation, like EDMR or EMDR or whatever that eye movement therapy is. I've heard like that's a type of binaural stimulation, and binaural stimulation can apparently help with inducing brain waves. So those binaural beats, like delta waves, binaural beats for sleep, black screen 10 hours that you see on YouTube, that's binaural beats. You're supposed to wear headphones. It doesn't work if you use it through a speaker unless you've got stereo. But you're supposed to wear headphones, and then it'll send sounds, and those sounds will stimulate your neurons, which will cascade into your brain, and then supposedly it helps regulate brain waves when the brain isn't doing it on its own. They have these for gamma waves as well, which are supposed to help with focus and attention, which tracks. So maybe that's something that I'm going to be trying too, along with my morning coffee. Maybe I'll do 30 minutes of some gamma waves, binaural beats, and I'll just try to put more fish in my diet. And maybe that will have a positive effect on my ability to focus and my executive function. I don't think it's going to like fix me or cure me or make everything like super easy or anything. I don't ever think anything like that about any kind of treatment. It's always like, it's not just like I'm going to eat fish and then all of a sudden I'm going to have parvalbumin and my interneurons are going to be healthier. Like, no, that's not how it works. I just think it might help. It might help, right? In addition to gamma waves, in addition to my morning coffee, and in addition to scheduling my day so that I'm doing work in my most productive hours and all this stuff, it's all this stuff. And you just add little tiny pieces to your routine and to the things that can help you, and you just do those as much as you can. It's unfortunate though, because fish is like really expensive. And it's like white meat fish has the most. Stuff like tuna and salmon doesn't have as much parvalbumin. It's still gonna have some though. Even imitation crab has a little bit in it, which I think, isn't imitation crab like made out of fish? Isn't it like actually, it's not like fake meat, it is actually meat. It's just a different kind of meat, and then it's flavored to taste like crab. I don't know. What I know is that I love fish and I want to eat more of it. Even if it doesn't help my brain, I just want to eat more fish. Okay, well, that's me for today. It's been a little while. I apologize. It's been like over a week since my last upload. But here it is. Here's your next video. There will be more. Like I said, I'm getting a laptop, so hopefully the videos will be better from now on, higher quality. I'll have more storage space so that I can actually like make longer videos and put more assets in and do more like research. Because as it stands, like if I want to say record a video with a script, for example, I would have to be like this close to the camera so that I can read, and then I have to be scrolling on my phone, because all I have is a phone. It's all right here on this little tiny screen. So anything I do You know, if I want to edit and I want to go cross-reference my references to make sure that I'm saying the right information, I've got to save the project as a draft, close the editing app, go to wherever my resource is, go read it, highlight, scroll around, and then go back to the editing app, open the draft up, etc. And it's just a whole process. But anyway, like the video if you liked it. Give the channel a sub if you're new here and you would like to follow my adventures, my crazy homeless adventures. There's going to be some links in the description if you'd like to support me. I'm fundraising for a van. Very important that I get this van as soon as possible. But I also have my Patreon down there, and I'll have a couple links for if you'd like to leave a one-time donation, or, you know, you could consider it a tip. If you liked the video, you could leave a tip, you know, $2, $3, something like that. Anything helps, really. I live entirely off of these donations. And thank you so much for watching. Have a peaceful day, and good luck with these holidays. Good luck with the winter time.